one-timer. Score! Oh, it's over. It's over. They score!
That's game. Oh, my goodness.
They score. Roll the highlight reel. What a ripper. Top Shattuck. Spread it on.
It's HNLive today. I'm Shawn Mullin along with Dave Dawson, and it was a wonderful weekend for us here at HNLive, not just for me, because my San Francisco 49ers pulled off an incredible comeback to beat the Detroit Lions. Don't roll your eyes at me, Dawson. But also because we got to see some of the best young hockey players in the world over the weekend, and what a pleasure. I mean, the job that we have, Dave, it's a treat every day. But in particular this weekend, to see all those great teams, Shattuck St Mary's in town in Calgary to play at Edge School, and just an amazing array of talent on display.
Yeah, when you're looking at that event, when we saw it and got into negotiations to get it done, it was a pretty quick deal. And we thought, okay, well, NAX, Edge School, Shattuck St Mary's, predominantly in Calgary IHA there for the last game, but predominantly those three schools involved in that event, incredible hockey. When you look at what Shattuck St Mary's, obviously they didn't bring their U18 prep team, the one that won the Circle K, but they still have an incredible amount of talent from top to bottom. So it was awesome to be part of.
We'll get into all of that in just a moment. We're also going to chat to a coach from the Calgary North Stars U16AA team. They're going to be hosting a tournament on HNLive this coming weekend. We'll talk about the Sherwood Park Knights and their big rivalry game on HNLive this weekend, and a whole lot more coming up. On this program, HNLive today, brought to you by Adrenaline Source for Sports, Calgary's premier store for hockey, lacrosse, and team apparel. Recently renovated and bigger and better than ever, a one-stop shop for all your sporting good needs. Visit them online at adrenalinegroup.ca. We fit your game. Let's get into it now, Dave. The Shattuck St. Mary's team, maybe the top program in hockey in the United States for developing young hockey players, invited up to the Edge School this weekend, and we got to see their 16 and under team and their 14 and under team go up against two of the top programs in this country in NAX and Edge. And let's start with Thursday's U15 game, Dave. You had a chance to call that one, and what a show it was.
Yeah, when I was walking into the rink, there was a lot of banter that, with all respect to NAX, who are just toe-to-toe with Edge, this could potentially be an international championship if you were to have one. It lived up to its billing. Mully, you and I have seen that U15 prep team from Edge constantly, a number of our events, including the Rocky Mountain Classic, and it was incredible. Goaltending was phenomenal. Layer Zaff was just fantastic in net for Edge School, and it was just back and forth the whole game. The pace was nuts.
Well, and Edge got off to a great start and got that big 2-0 lead. And, I think about that Shattuck St. Mary's team. I talked to them after. They went on a 20-hour bus ride, got there at 1 o'clock that day before playing the game. So it's almost like working off the bus legs a little bit. I know they're, 13, 14 years old, so it maybe doesn't hit as hard as people our age, but to go and play a game and play at the level they did after riding for 20 hours on the bus is impressive. And they came back and did a great job storming back, and the leads kept switching back and forth. I mean, I was watching this game as getting set. It was just a pleasure to watching you call the game. Being there must have been something. Yeah,
5-on-3 is a plenty back and forth as well. And, you didn't know exactly where it was going to go. Edge gets a lead, and then, Shattuck takes a lead, and then, okay, so the third period, it's 4-3 again. Shattuck comes out quickly, and then, all right, well, where is this going to go? And a weird one here. I feel really bad for Aiden Bouchard, who's a phenomenal defenseman that went right off the back of poor Layer Zaff on that goal. But nonetheless, when it found its way into overtime, each team, you kind of figured, and of course that tying goal there, each team kind of felt each other out. But Brock England, what a phenomenal player, and I remember on that goal call, I said, probably one of the best two-way forwards in all of Western Canada, Brock England.
You did, and it was a great call, and I brought it up later on Sunday, and we'll get to that later too, but because throughout that game, he did things that reinforced what you said about him. Not just a skilled player, not just a guy who's over a point per game, but in that game, made back checks, made great plays in front of his own net, won big face-offs. So yes, skilled enough to win the game in the shootout the way he did, but also an exceptional player at both ends of the ice.
Yeah, we'll have a chance to catch up with him later in the show as well. I had a great interview with the youngster, and who is obviously eligible for the Western Hockey League draft in May.
And then we got into the big U18 game versus U16. Now, that U16 team is still full of 2007 birthdays, so they are similar age groups, and it was another absolute barn burner of a game, Dave.
Yeah, and they were missing a couple of their top players too at the World Youth Olympics right now as well. So interesting to see. And that save right there was maybe one of the most mind-blowing ones. I could not believe Karsten Padnode. I'd seen him before in a number of HNLive events, but he was phenomenal in this game. He really held edge in it for sure.
And a player that I think the ability he has, the flexibility, the movement that he showed, certainly a lot of potential.
And that goal right there was right out of the penalty box. A bit of a game changer for Edge, where there didn't really seem to be a lot offered on either side of the ice. And there were quite a few power plays in this one as well. And then Alex Donovan, what a release, right in tight, right up onto the bar. And that was huge, and sent this one to overtime again.
He put on a show all weekend. And of course, puck's going to be on DuPont's stick in overtime, isn't it?
Yeah, Landon DuPont. I think there might be a few eyes on him, one or two, coming up for May. Oh, yeah, they have been for an entire year.
Yeah. And a great snipe by Paveo to win the game. And that's what he does. Like you said, the man scores goals. He's a little bit like that. I can't remember his name, the old receiver for Green Bay. All he did was score touchdowns. All this guy does is score big goals.
Cobb?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Cruz Paveo, what a debut in the Western Hockey League this year as well, right? In his first two games, 2 game-winning goals, so bright future there, and a lot of Western League picks on that U18 prep team. And that 16 and under team for Shattuck St Mary's again. All of their athletes from all their programs, phenomenal. I would like to see what they would be able to do with their full and complete roster. And obviously an exhibition game, right? But still, we got a really good sample of some excellent hockey on the weekend.
Well, and then you got a chance to talk to a couple players from the Edge School teams, both the U15 and U18 winning teams who got big victories in their home building on Thursday. Here's how those conversations went.
The opening game, pretty exciting one for your group. What was that like, and how would you describe what it was like out there?
You know, it was cool. Again, we had to get them back for the game in Minnesota, so we came out hard and had a little bad second period, but we came back in the third.
You had a pretty nice snipe there to finish things in a shootout. Did you know what you're going to do going in?
Kinda. You kind of had to read what the goalie was doing, and then, yeah.
Well, Brock, you guys had a great weekend last weekend at the John Reed tournament. Took that one. You won the Rocky Mountain Classic. You won the Rebels Fall Classic. What is this experience been like playing for Edge School and this year in the Canadian Sports School Hockey League?
It's really good. Coming here from Red Deer, it was a big change. Going from the AHL to CSHL, but I've been liking it so far, and the team's been great.
Day number 1, this Shattuck St Mary's showcase. Second time you guys have seen this group now. What's it like to have a group like them come up here and play a showcase against them?
Yeah, you know, we went up to Shattuck earlier in the year and didn't go our way. We got outshot about 50-12 or something like that, and lost the game. But so, you know, this was a big game for us coming into this. We really wanted this one, and you know, we put out a full 60-minute effort, and we came away with a W.
You've also been known to score goals. We'll get there soon as well. Former member of the Calgary Bisons, and no stranger to big games on HNLive. Why don't we just first to talk about, Luke, you're playing now for Edge in the Canadian Sports School Hockey League. What's that transition been like? What do you like about Edge? How does it make you a better player, and as well as playing in the Canadian Sports School League?
Yeah, you know, Edge has been a great transition for me. I've been able to really grow my game with all the facilities right here, shooting cages, nice gym, and so I've really been able to work on my game that way. But it's also the schooling here has been really good too. So it's been a really good transition on both sides.
Yeah, what a couple of great guys. And we had Brock England. We've seen him a number of times, and there's so many things we can say about him, and a great youngster. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of eyes on him in May in Western Hockey League's draft. Luke Vlusek, as I mentioned in the interview, he was really grateful for that one clip from the Rocky Mountain Classic a couple years back that Gino DePaoli called, and the Cardiac Kids, the comeback overtime winner. And Molly, you and I both appreciate this. I know we do, and a number of us in the company. It's nice to follow guys along their career who continually find opportunities to shine on HNLive and then just climb the ladder. That's what we do here in HNLive. It's about the journey to the pros, not necessarily in the pros.
Yeah, you end up feeling almost a sense of, being a part of their journey, for sure. I watch Cole Reshney now play for Victoria, or perform at the U18s the way he did, the U17s the way he did. Like, hey, I remember we were there when he won the Rocky Mountain Classic, and England's another story. Like, it's great to see these guys take their journey and be just a small part of that. And that journey continued on Friday when we got to see that NAX program that had just won the U15 Canadian Crown Tournament on HNLive take on Shattuck St Mary's, and coming off a loss in the shootout, Shattuck St Mary's was, I'm told anyway, real fired up for this game, but it was NAX who got off to the great start, Dave, a team that has been dominant, made a great passing play there. Harrison delivered the goal, and they got off to a wonderful start through the first two periods, really took control of this hockey game, and it felt like it was going to be in their hands.
Yeah, and a team that has no problem scoring goals, or nor do they have problems defending well. They took Rink Winnipeg in the Canadian Crown Final and really didn't let up at any point in time in the game. And they're so deep. In my conversations with Braden Toma, head coach of U15, we built a great relationship here over the past couple of years. And he said, this group is different, Mully, than years past, where you're top-heavy offensively. We're 4 lines deep. We're great defensively. Between the pipes, we're solid. We're more well-rounded. We don't really look at ourselves necessarily as the group that's going to score 10 a game, but Memphis and Denikin, guys like that contributing, that's the kind of group they have this year. He is unbelievable.
Well, and it was a great game too. That's a beautiful goal by Sung, but it was a great game by Blake Chorney. And I know we're talking about them not being top heavy, but that first line was excellent in the game, and Blake Chorney in particular, the power forward game he has, his ability to, dictate the pace of play, great passing, great shooting. He just does a little bit of everything. It's going to make him, as you've mentioned before, probably a top 10 pick in the Western Hockey League draft.
Yeah, the native of Nipawin, Saskatchewan, where I know you've been up there, as have I, a few different times. And Chorney's a guy that's really burst onto the scene this year, having an opportunity now playing for NAX, formerly of the Junior Prospects Hockey League. And Chorney is unbelievable when it comes to skill. But hold that thought, because here comes Shattuck St Mary. They haven't given up.
Unbelievable. Down 6-2 entering the third period. You just saw 3 quick goals, and then Gutierrez, who's a pleasure to watch from the blue line. Now, that guy can do a little bit of everything. Passing it off to Sung to force the shootout. And there's the shootout winner from Shattuck St Mary's. They were fired up on the big save here, closing it out. Look at that. It's almost like they won a championship. Coming back from down
Exhibition
6-2.
one.
Yeah, and you're playing a team like NAX that just rolled through the U15 Crown Tournament. And when I say rolled, I mean rolled. They won the championship game 8-3 against Rink Winnipeg. Like, they were not tested really, even against some elite level talent. They played Delta, they played Rink. Nobody touched them. They had a 6-2 lead against this Shattuck St. Mary club. And somehow Shattuck St. Mary came back and won the game. I mean, just an extraordinary comeback effort.
And let's not forget what they did, what Edge School did at the John Reed tournament either. They really just rolled through everyone as well. The Toronto Titans were the only team that kind of gave them any type of contest at all. So after taking Edge to a shootout, you're almost there. And then you get a shot at NAX, one of the top, academy programs in all of Western Canada, maybe even Canada overall. And coming back, like, you have to be excited regardless if it's an exhibition game or not. So that was cool to see. It must have been fun for you to call.
Oh, it absolutely was fun. It was an absolute blast to call. Then we move on to Saturday and even more action. That was the Shattuck St. Mary U16 team against Edge, the U18 team again, and a rematch of the game that was won in overtime by Edge. And this time, Dave, as we see DuPont step up just over a minute into the game and score beauty. Edge asserted themselves right off the hop. They had a little bit more jump than Shattuck St. Mary in this game, and it was a bit of a surprise to me how they were able to take more control of this contest after how close the first one was.
Yeah, maybe just being at home, potentially, right? Like familiar surroundings, you never know what the factors could be in that. But I mean, these are also very highly skilled teams that adjust well, are well coached. These are really intelligent hockey players with a really high hockey IQ. So every game is going to be completely a different animal for sure.
Now, of course, coming off their 14 and under team, coming back and winning 7-6 when down big, you know that the Shattuck St. Mary's team wasn't going to go away. But what was so impressive about Edge on Saturday was every time that the Shattuck club seemed to, start to push back, Edge responded immediately. So that 3-1 goal, Edge scored a 4-1 goal in the next shift. Then Shattuck St. Mary's tried to cut into that lead later on. And here we see it go to 5-1. But later on, when Shattuck St. Mary's does jump here and score a goal to make it 5-2, and a great shot from the slot there on the one-timer to make it happen. The next shift, again, Edge comes out, asserts themselves, gets back on the board. They just stomped on them in this situation, wouldn't let them have the room to come back the way that we saw in the comeback on Friday.
What really impressed me about Edge overall, the U18 prep team, and you look at the numbers this year in the Canadian Sports School Hockey League, the top team goals against in the entire league. And they defend so well, clogged up the neutral zone, didn't allow, as you see one slide by there, it didn't really allow a lot of consistent, sustained pressure. They're so well coached. And that's one of the things that impressed me the most from defensively. You go look at Landon DuPont, and who leads the team in scoring. They have the offensive ability to put pucks in the net, but defensively is where I think their real strength is. So it's no surprise that, it mitigates some of that damage.
You invite up this Shattuck St. Mary team that's, maybe the top program in the United States, and Edge School won the first 3 of the 4 matchups between the schools, both at the U18 and U15 level. So they went into Sunday with an opportunity for a sweep of all those games. But hold on, it wasn't necessarily going to be a walk to that, because when they played each other the first time, that was a shootout game. That was a back and forth game. And we are in for a real similar story on Sunday morning. And it was Shattuck St. Mary opening the scoring. Wang with a great goal. Talk about scoring depth. They have it all throughout their lineup. Their top 2 lines in particular, Dave. I mean, you saw them. There's so much skill in that top 6.
Yeah, that top line with Fitzhenry, Wang, and Grubb was just sensational for Shattuck St. Mary's throughout the weekend. And I really do love Gutierrez on the backside. You mentioned him in the last game pack there, and he's a guy I think I often tend to lean on. Guys I pick out, I usually find defenseman first, and Gutierrez for Shattuck is just such a phenomenal rear guard.
Edge was up 2-1 going into the third, but it didn't take long. After all sorts of pressure by Shattuck St. Mary's in the second period, they could not find the equalizer, and they get it from Fitzhenry seconds into the third period. And that just started what was a real interesting back and forth period, because Edge responded. They scored right away. Olivero getting it, a beauty of a goal. They got their lead back, and Shattuck St. Mary kept coming. And I felt like, having watched the game you called on Thursday and then the game on Sunday morning, these two teams could play each other 100 times, and every time you're going to see a close, interesting battle. I know Shattuck St. Mary's beat Edge in their home tournament down in the U.S. 3-0 in the final of that tournament, but I was told that was a real close game, closer than the score would indicate. And the 2 games they played against each other on this showcase were just tremendous. And then it went to a shootout again. Of course it did. Little back and forth, off a post there, and a chance to win it. Beautiful little move to the backhand here. And nicely done.
Patient, receptive play, right? I love that. Just the ability to freeze the goaltender.
And on the shootout, it wasn't like they just brought out that, Song, Fitzhenry, Grubb, Wang mix of players. They went all throughout their lineup, and they have skill all throughout their lineup, and both teams do. And I think if you watch those 2 teams play each other, the 2 games we saw, the one on Thursday and the one Sunday morning, you thought to yourself, why can't we have a 7-game series? Why can't we have a 21-game series? Because I think every game would be a different storyline, but so much skill on display every time.
I want to see those three programs, NAX, Shattuck, and Edge, play in like a week-long tournament to wrap up the entire at the U15 level, to wrap up the whole Canadian Sports School League U15 prep season. Why not? They're going to be at the top there anyway. Yeah, why not do that? I mean, with all due respect to the other great programs and the guys we have on that we will have on, I think it's safe to say that those two are Canadian-wise are probably the two of the top ones. So.
Well, and I said it on Sunday, that game we were watching, and the NAX game's the same for the U15 games. We're watching players that will appear at the next level. They will likely play for their country. They will likely play at either the NCAA level or the Western Hockey League level. And there's probably someone on the ice in that game on Sunday, or a few of the games we saw this week, that's going to play in the National Hockey League. I would be shocked if there wasn't. And that's what we get to watch. That's the beauty of what we get to do here at HNLive when we watch these players, the future happening right before our eyes.
Yeah, and episodes in the future, you're going to see a lot of that players featured continually that are rising stars that find their first look on HNLive, and then will climb their way up the ranks and hopefully in the National Hockey League.
And let's take a look at some of the players that really caught our eye this past week at that showcase event. And, one guy we always have to mention is Landon DuPont. And there's so many eyes on him. He hasn't decided yet, from what we've heard, what he's going to do yet, whether he'll be an NCAA player or a Western Hockey League player. If he does go to the Western Hockey League, Dave, we're talking about a guy who might be the second ever exceptional player who gets to play a season early in the Western Hockey League as a 15-year-old. He's that good. He's tearing up U18 at the highest level as a 14-year-old defenseman.
He's 14 years old. He's leading the team in scoring, and he's not just good. He's dominating, and he's 14 years old. It's unbelievable. And I know that, there's another guy who's doing all right in the NHL now who got that exceptional status. So, but, well, I guess he's injured, but I think he's okay. But, anyway, I just going to massage my jaw. But I think Landon DuPont, I had a chance to chat with him at the Rocky Mountain Classic last year when he was playing for Mickey, his dad, and Mickey's first year coaching the U15 prep team, and very humble, very modest. Mickey really holds a high standard for him, and naturally Mickey a great international Spengler Cup career and did some great things for Canada. Landon, he's going to have a lot of eyes on him, and when he goes, and Mully, you and I know this, scouts had told us last year in 2023 he's number one overall in the Western League, and there's not even like it's a gap that's that big. Like number two is so far behind him. So wish the best for Landon.
If he decides to go that route. And that's and everyone's waiting to find out, because once he does pull that trigger, then it's likely the Western Hockey League says, okay, you can play next year. And what team is going to be the beneficiary of that? And he's so smooth. You watch him play in there in a league, it's a U18 team, and you would have no idea that he's that much younger than everybody else playing there. He's just extraordinary.
Molly, you remember growing up, if you're a great defenseman, you always get compared to Bobby Orr, right? People are like, oh, stop it. Stop the Bobby Orr comparisons. And now modern day, it's Cale Makar, right? The last defenseman who led a team in scoring, who was a really high prospect. Is it safe to make that comparison? And do you see a little bit of Cale Makar game in Landon DuPont?
I think it's natural to make that comparison for sure. I mean, the smooth way he plays the game, how the puck follows him, and how it almost looks effortless sometimes out there. I think it's a natural comparison. But he's his own man, and he's going to be a player from what we've seen that could play at that level. So we'll see if he goes the way Makar did, playing for Brooks and going to the NCAA, or if he heads to the Western Hockey League where he has an opportunity to maybe be the second ever exceptional player that plays in that league. Now, I know, Dave, on Thursday, we were texting back and forth. You had some highlights you wanted to see because the goaltenders were putting on such a display in those two games.
Yeah, and for Edge U15, Carson Layerzaff, I've seen him a number of times in events on HNLive, and he's had a great year so far, 7-2 in the Canadian Sports Goal season. He's 279 goals against, 911 save percentage, and he was just incredible in a number of massive saves like he has done all year long. Edge is a great defensive program, but Layerzaff really held his team in it where they were able to come out and get that shootout win. So the 1-2 tandem with Edge, U15 prep, Layerzaff and Odin, they can rely on either one of those guys to play in big games. Even though it was an exhibition game, it was still an incredible contest, and he made a name for himself. Did the Edge U15 goalie. And the other goalie for Edge that I think, honestly, between the two, probably outshone him was Preston Patton. I can think a number of times that some of the saves he made, I was jumping up and down in the booth, and I looked at the feed later that you can see a little bit of a bounce on the camera. That's because I almost jumped out of the broadcast booth onto the ice, and some of the saves that he made, including the toe save, was just sensational. And Preston Patton, an unbelievable goaltender. I imagine he's got a bright future in hockey. Probably raised some eyebrows from Western League teams and from Junior A teams from his performance on the weekend, the Shattuck St Mary Showcase.
Yeah, both those goalies got to roll the highlight reel from you, Dave, and they deserved it. And it was
I got to come up
with
a new. Yeah, you got to come up with a new saying, Molly. I don't know why I lean on that so much, but I'll work on it.
Hey,
and for you,
it's accurate, absolutely accurate. As far as players I noticed, that top line for the Shattuck St. Mary's 14 and under team was extraordinary. And Ethan Sung, one of the players on that group, but they really stood out as a trio with Colin Grubb and Nolan Fitzhenry. And Sung scored a couple of beautiful goals, especially in that game where they were coming from behind, down 6-2 in the third period to come back and beat a wonderful NAX U15 team. Sung, such quick hands. They work wonderfully together. There's so much talent in that trio. And Sung's got 73 points in 37 games. Grubb 71. Fitzhenry 63. If you face off against Shattuck St. Mary's and that 14 and under team, you're going to have to deal with that line, and they're going to find a way to burn you at some point. And one more player to mention who scored 9 points in the final game of the showcase and was just wonderful all weekend long, Alexander Donovan of the Shattuck St. Mary's 16 and under team. So good, he was drafted first overall in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League U.S. draft and may not even play in the major junior level. Great quick release, the leading point getter for that Shattuck St. Mary's team with 52 points, 29 goals on the season coming into the showcase. That's a name you don't want to forget because we will see him again one day. It was a wonderful weekend with the Shattuck St. Mary's showcase at the Edge School, and we're back in Calgary again this coming weekend for the U16 AA North Stars Challenge with some of the top teams in all of Alberta U16 AA hockey. Joining me now is Calgary North Stars U16 assistant coach Neil Coughlin. They have a tournament coming up this weekend in Calgary that we're going to feature on HNLive.ca. And Neil, appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Sean. Appreciate it.
So a big tournament coming up this weekend. What are some of your thoughts heading into it?
Yeah, we're excited about it. I think it's a great opportunity for all 6 teams to kind of get themselves geared up heading into playoffs. We've got 6 regular season games left, and we're looking forward to using this as a test for our group as we kind of start looking ahead towards playoffs a little bit.
How different is it for a team, going into a tournament versus what you're normally doing during your season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that short-term competition mentality, with sort of a narrow focus and a narrow window to win. So I think every game, not that every game is not important regular season, but certainly in a tournament like this with a round robin component, every game is important. You really got to focus on that one game at a time mentality, I think.
Yeah, you bring 6 AA teams together like this.
Yeah.
And at the same time, with that many teams together, with that many eyes that'll be on it, it's going to be on HNLive. Is there a little extra element too for the players that it's a bit of a showcase for them and trying to get them out there to the hockey world a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're fortunate to have some of the top U16 AA teams in the province participating this weekend, and there really is some great talent at this level of hockey. I know it's not AAA hockey, but it's super competitive hockey, and there are some really talented and gifted players that play at this level for sure.
Well, and sometimes, and this is just my thought process having seen it, a player will either develop at a later stage, they're a bit of a late bloomer, or maybe they don't fit on the AAA team's 4th line. Yeah. It's just not necessarily as simple as you're a AA player or a AAA player, right? And there's going to be players that are in this tournament that are going to have opportunities at another level.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say every player has a legitimate shot at playing at U17 AAA next year, and some of those stronger players even a shot at playing U18 AAA next year. So I think it's definitely a developmental league, but I mean there's some good players. A lot of them played U15 AAA last year, and like I said, they do have an opportunity to play AAA again next year.
Tell me about your North Stars club and what the season's been like for you so far.
Yeah, it's been good for us so far. It's we've enjoyed a bit of success, having won a tournament in Edmonton in November. We just finished winning ESO in Calgary. I guess it would be almost 2 weeks ago. So it's been good for us. We've been fortunate to enjoy some success and are looking forward to hopefully continuing that this weekend.
What are some strengths of your team then that have allowed you to have that kind of success, win tournaments before that you'll carry into this weekend on HNLive?
Yeah, I think the strength of our team is our depth offensively. We've got 11 guys realistically that can put the puck in the net for us, and are always a threat offensively. I think our biggest asset and something we've been able to capitalize on is the speed of our team up front as well. And that obviously creates some opportunities for us offensively.
Any particular players? I know coaches don't like to single them out, but
Yeah.
That may be a couple of those guys that could have an opportunity to make that jump to the higher level next year.
Yeah, I think we've probably got 4 or 5 guys, or 5 or 6 guys that are guys you want to keep an eye on. Jacob Brill and Kenton Long are two guys leading the league in points this season. Logan Cruz is another threat for us. Guys like Deegan Petruska, big talented offensive minded forward. Mike Tavares is strong up front. He's fast. Dom Kostecki. We've got 11 guys that are in the top 20 of our league points. So,
wow.
Really offensively gifted, and that's obviously helped us a lot.
Now, looking into this weekend, you've got 5 other teams to deal with. You're obviously a very talented club, have had a lot of success. And again, I know coaches don't like to single out potential opponents because it could be bulletin board material, but
yeah.
Who do we have to watch out for in this tournament? Who are going to be, the teams that you're most looking forward to facing?
Yeah, you look at the competition in the tournament. We've got Airdrie, who leads their league, the South Central Alberta Hockey League. PAC Saints leads their league. Beaumont Braves is sitting in third. All the teams are in the top part of their league, and I think it's going to be a really competitive weekend, and a lot of on those respective teams, they've got 2 or 3 guys that are leading their respective leagues with points as well. So I think it's going to be a really good test for us, and I think it's going to be a really competitive weekend, which is what we were kind of striving for.
It's almost kind of like an all-star showcase for Alberta U16 AA in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. I think it's a great weekend to showcase U16 hockey in the province, and I hope that's what we're able to do.
Well, we're looking forward to doing that, and we're looking forward to being there this weekend to broadcast it. I know it's going to be very competitive, and obviously a lot of talent's going to be there, Neil, and good luck to you.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Thanks, Sean.
And from an event where there'll be a championship trophy hoisted on Sunday, we have been the home of the Junior B Provincial Championships now since 2019. And from the championships to regular season hockey, we have been the carriers as well. We do a lot of Junior B hockey on HNLive, and our first year doing Sherwood Park Knights in the Capital Junior Hockey League. We've loved doing their regular season games all season long. And now joined by the head coach of the Sherwood Park Knights, it is Tyler Steele, the 2-time defending Capital League champions. We got to see them last year at the Junior B Provincials in Okotoks, and they came off all the way to get to Okotoks. They had to beat the St. Albert Merchants in the championship game. They did it in Game 5 at the Jerome McGinley Arena. They made their first trip back there last night, and they won 5-1. Tyler, thanks so much for making time for us today. First of all, 24 hours removed from that game last night. What do you make of that? First of all, your first trip back there and the effort last night, you guys coming out with the win.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, sometimes there's a little bit of disparity in the league, so the guys definitely look forward to seeing how they stack up. St. Albert's, they're a high offense team, and we play a little bit more structured defense, and we don't necessarily have high octane offense as everybody. And I thought it was good. The boys put out, and it's a good sign getting ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, you aren't kidding about how structured you guys play. Only 77 goals allowed all season, leading the league there. Your goal differential is outstanding. Just sort of talk about your team, how the season has gone for you, and what are some of the keys to the successes you've had.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it stems from the room to start with. The guys have a really solid culture, and it was started years ago with guys that aren't here anymore: Lowry, Perka, some guys that are on the bench, Bader, Hardy, Doak. The list goes on, and we've been blessed to have really good leaders, good captains that have passed those traits on. We try and play the same way that we have for the last couple seasons. So the understanding of the systems and the principles are already ingrained, and as long as we can keep the leadership the right way, and we absolutely have incredible leaders, that's what's contributing, and that's what's going to help us make this something that's sustainable, which is something we wanted.
Now, Tyler, we have at HNLive have covered Junior B for years, and the Capital Junior Hockey League has always been a powerhouse league of the 5 leagues, and Sherwood Park Knights specifically this year. Who are some of the guys that have really, stepped up and allowed you to have the success? And I know as a coach, you hate to single guys out, but who are maybe the key players for people who haven't had a chance to watch Sherwood Park?
Well, I think it starts with our captain, Tyler Kaczynski. Came to us last year, and he stepped into a support role for the leaders. But I think he got a pretty good glimpse of how we as a staff like to utilize our captains and that relationship. I think he took that on with the right attitude, and he wanted to be that guy. So I think it starts with coach, and then it passes down to the rest of our captains. Justin Baudouin has stepped up in a big way. He was a big part of our support offense now, but now he's driving our offense. Kalen Veldman came back to us, another great kid, and obviously on the back end we have Powell, who I stand by as probably the best defenseman at this level, and I would put that up against the province. And then Caleb Raymond, who's a huge part of our room and probably pretty underrated. He rarely makes a mistake on the back end, and he's made huge steps forward. And then you look at our rookies, who we expected to get production out of, but we didn't expect it until kind of this part of the year. And there were parts of the year where the top end of our lineup was pretty banged up, and those guys carried the team through a heart of the season. So all of that, and then you couple, obviously, Robbie's an incredible goalie. I mean, you saw him last night, Dave. He does some things for us that help that goal differential for sure. And we've been lucky to have guys that like Sean Norum, who has carried a bigger load this year, and he'll get a bigger load next year when Robbie's gone. And adding Caleb Murray, who I can't believe we were lucky enough for him to land with us. But I mean, looking forward in net, I think we're in a good spot. So
now this weekend coming up, and we've been putting a special focus on the big rivalry game against Beaumont as you're getting close to the end of the season here. And they're the team closest to you in your division standings. a quick look at the season series has been pretty successful for you guys against them, although that last game on the 19th was pretty close. Talk about that matchup and what you expect from the game.
Yeah, Beaumont's a pretty hard-nosed team. They play a pretty good structured game as well. We've been fortunate enough to fall on the right side of those scores, but they are definitely a team that we are looking at and watching. We'll watch video on them, and they got high power. Schultz is a very good forward. He has the wheels, and he's a big kid that can score. And then they're pretty solid in net too with Basil. So they play probably the most physical up there with Morinville and St. Albert, and they're a hard-working, grinding team, and they have some top-end scoring. So as much as so far the season series gone well for us, it's definitely not something that we look past. We know what's over there for sure.
Tyler, just want to ask you, obviously partnered with HNLive this year, and we've loved doing the games on HNLive.ca with the Knights. And what benefit, how has it provided exposure and help to your group and the guys being able to get some highlights and things like that? How has it been helpful for you guys?
Well, I think the first off is there, it kind of came to light. The first year we were down in provincials, you guys did an awesome job. We thought it was super cool. And then throughout the season last year, we're not a D1. We don't send kids on to D1 as much as we'd like to make that a part of our program. Right now, that's not something we do, but we do put kids. We've got 3 alumni in Nate. We send them to Concordia. There is advancement, and there were a lot of D3 schools last year that were reaching out about our players, and their biggest complaint was, we don't have any video of these guys. And then coming out of Okotoks, we kind of decided as an organization, like, this is something we need. You guys do an unreal job. I mean, I watched your broadcast today, Dave, and Dave's spitting off stats about my players that I didn't even know. He's got scoring streaks down, and this guy's got this many multi-point games. And I mean, what you guys do, it's super cool for the kids, but it's also going to help us get the kids more exposure, which is the end goal.
That's awesome to hear, and we're really glad it's played out that way for you guys so far. And a wonderful season for you guys, and playoffs just around the corner. Back-to-back champions. As you get set for that grind again, having experienced it as a group, what'll it take for a three-peat?
It's understanding that the end goal is winning the championship, but that doesn't happen by focusing on the end goal. We focus in the playoffs. It's about the next shift, the next period. It's the immediate, and the way that you do that is you focus on the single individual habit and making sure that you make the little things right and good things come out of that, and focusing on literally the next shift and understanding that every game you play is harder than the last. And that's what we're going to try and do, and hopefully we'll find some success.
Well, Tyler, I really appreciate your time, and it's been an honor with myself, Zach, and Grayson, and everybody who's been able to be around you and the organization. And Rick Rashog and yourself have been so hospitable this year. And I love that point you made about it's about developing players into post-secondary and growing the program. And I know at HNLive we would love nothing more than an absolute packed house and 1,000 people watching online. Your rivalry game on Friday night would be unreal. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. This is super cool, super fun, and let's do it again.
Thank you. Great chatting with Tyler Steele, his Sherwood Park Knights, 2-time defending Capital Junior Hockey League champions, will wrap up their regular season broadcast schedule with us in a big rivalry game against the Beaumont Chiefs on Friday at 8:30 on HNLive.ca. And of course, we've got a full slate of Heritage Junior Hockey League games this weekend as well. Check out HNLive.ca to see our full schedule for that. We're looking very forward to the North Stars U16 AA Challenge, February 2nd to the 4th from the Don Hartman Northeast Sportsplex. Check out that schedule on HNLive.ca. And still to come in February, we'll be back to the River Cree Twin Rinks for the U17 Canadian Crown Challenge, another great tournament put on in the home of Northern Alberta Extreme. And now for our Plays of the Week, brought to you by Adrenaline Source for Sports. The best sporting goods experience you can have. Endless inventory in hockey, lacrosse, and baseball for friendly staff, one-on-one service, and the experts that you can trust. Come to the newly renovated Adrenaline Source for Sports at 9309 McLeod Trail, Calgary, or online at adrenalinegroup.ca. We fit your game. For my play of the week, back to that top line for Shattuck St Mary's 14 and under team, and a beautiful play as Fitzhenry couldn't get the shot off, so he moved to his backhand and slid it across to Ethan Sung, their leading scorer, for a beautiful goal. That is a line to watch. Dave, what's your play of the week?
My play of the week up until Sunday night was going to be one of Preston Patinode's saves, but I did the game between the Sherwood Park Knights and the St. Albert Merchants. It's a rematch of last year's Capital League final on Sunday night, and it was a shorthanded breakaway save by Brady Roblin that was unbelievable. Early in the contest, gave the Knights some confidence to eventually come out with a 5-1.
All right, thanks a lot. And thanks to Alex, our producer, our guest today as well. We're looking forward to what should be a wonderful weekend with the North Stars Challenge, the Sherwood Park rivalry game, Heritage Junior Hockey League games, and a whole lot more from HN Live. I'm Shawn Mullin for Dave Dawson. Thanks for joining us on HN Live today.